The new MacBook Pro 16 inches here, but we are both Windows users, so we're going to complain about it.
I like this one.
I do too. I do too. This is our favorite MacBook of all time. This is not the new 16 inch. This is the 2015 version before the dongle book disaster. This MacBook actually has useful ports on it. And so when the dongle book came out, we actually went out and bought this specifically. We had never purchased a MacBook
Many people
before.
did. Many photographers. This was like the hot item in 2016.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's still a relatively popular laptop because people are trying to stay away from these dongles, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit.
Which ports does that one have, just for reference?
So this one has the MagSafe charging cable, the one everyone loved, that's now gone.
Yeah, Apple doesn't continue to do that?
It has two Thunderbolt / DisplayPort jacks, which I think is, you see that more with Apple products, but it plugs into monitors and stuff. It's got the USB-A port. I would assume these are USB 3.1. I don't even remember. Headphone jack on that side. And on this side, we've got another USB-A, HDMI, which we use all the time, SD card slot that we use all the time.
So it sounds like it has almost all the same ports that this one has. So this is the Dell XPS 15, and this is our favorite laptop because it has a lot of the form factors of the MacBook Pro with all of the ports as well.
I think it actually has Thunderbolt 3 as well, but it just has one port instead of four, which is a little bit more reasonable.
Headphone jack. So like this is our main computer.
We own two of those.
This one is the equivalent of this.
Yeah, and we bought this, we've used it for certain things. Sometimes we have to review products that only work with Macs, and we team up with a lot of photographers, and many of them are Mac exclusive. So when they come over to our office and we have like 20 Windows computers, they freak out unless we have something for them to use. So that's why we bought this.
Well, this video is not about either of these computers.
It's not. It's about the new 16-inch 2019 MacBook Pro, which has fixed many of the issues that people have had with the previous version. So what do we have to complain about then? For me, it is still the ports on this computer. And I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, Lee, it's not a big deal. Like, you get used to it. Once you get a couple dongles, you just plug them in, you carry them with you everywhere you go. Right. Like it's 1985, and you're used to it. This is your life now. You
get to buy the nice laptop bag that holds all the dongles in it, and that's part of the experience.
But it's not that simple for us. We are constantly using products that have to plug into these ports. And as you guys may or may not know, there is a difference between USB Type-C, that's the shape of the port,
USB
3.1, USB 3.2, USB 3.1 or 0.2 Gen 2, and then Thunderbolt 2, Thunderbolt 3. Okay, there's like...
My head already hurts just hearing you say these things.
Right, and it's insane because each cable looks the exact same, but they're all completely different. And there's no way to actually know what the cable's capable of. There's no way to test these cables. So we probably have 30 USB-C cables here, and I cannot figure out which ones work with which product, and it's an absolute nightmare. And I'm talking right now about using it with my Windows computer. Right. I'm not even talking about using it with this. I have a brand new custom-built desktop over here, and it has one Thunderbolt 3 jack in the back, that little USB port, the one that 4 of them are in the MacBook Pro.
Yep.
It comes with this little baby cable, USB-C to USB-C.
8 inches, 12 inches.
It's awful. It's great for a laptop, but for a desktop, I can't even reach to plug it in. Okay, I just want to buy a longer USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 cable.
I just bought 2 of these the other week.
Me too. I
guess what?
I bought 10 of them. It didn't work, did it?
No, it transferred at like 30 megabits per second instead of
megabytes. You're getting it confused already.
But it's supposed to be hitting like 200, 150.
Exactly.
So it's running at 25% the speed.
So I've bought so many different cables. We own so many different USB-C cables. None of them are giving me the correct number. So now I'm going, instead of Amazon, because Amazon might have like fake products and stuff. You know how the Chinese companies will say a cable's this, but it's not. We've had trouble with that. So I'm going to B&H now. I'm buying like name brand USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 cables. plugging it in, not getting the same speeds, very unreliable, crazy things happening. Like the connection to my card reader is like turning on and off, flipping on and off. I don't know what's going on. So I called ProGrade. ProGrade's gonna have the answer, right? They made the product.
Yep.
The guy's like, yeah, sorry, like this is just a problem that everybody has. Like because we don't manufacture the longer cables, we can't certify which ones work and which ones don't. And he was like, I just talked to a customer the other day that had done a bunch of tests and he thinks that he found a good cable on Amazon that works. So I'll email you that link. I haven't gotten the email yet. But basically I am waiting to figure out what cable to get that will work. But when I get it, it's going to look the same as the other 50 cables that we have here.
Yeah.
And if one of them ever comes unplugged and gets mixed in to our batch of other crap cables,
You're back at square one.
I'm just gonna have to throw them all out. All of you Apple lovers, and I'm kind of an Apple lover too, you know, but like all of you people, Apple fanboys, would you be angry if they also put one USB-A port, one HDMI port, and one SD card slot? Would you be upset if that was on there also?
Take away from the design.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. That's the thing. Not a single. The only person who would be upset about that is the person who just bought the 2018 model, and they're like, "Wow, I like Apple. You promised us that the future was."
But I would
Thunderbolt
assume that
3."
they would have to take a little bit of that battery away. They would have to remove some of the channels for the cooling with the fans.
I don't believe it. And the other issue is, it's not just the cables that we've been having problems with. It's the dongles themselves.
Oh my gosh, that's really what you should be arguing about more. I think the people that have had to deal with these dongles can relate to this a lot more. Because we have had dongles that are made by different brands, and some of them work, and then sometimes they don't work, and they may work like 90% of the time, but the one time you have to plug it to a certain device, it stops working.
Yes. So
that seems way more unreliable to me than even the
and here's the thing,
USB-C 3s.
Apple doesn't even make the necessary dongles. Apple is selling like Belkin dongles for this, and then they're selling Mophie dongles for that. And when you get home and you try to plug them in, it's like we'll have one that has just HDMI, it doesn't work. And then we'll do another one that has like HDMI and 2 USB-As, and now HDMI works on that one. And we cannot figure out why, and we've had so many problems with this. We're constantly recording photographers doing tutorials. You know, maybe they're teaching Photoshop or something, and they want to use a Mac because they like to torture themselves. And we have had even more problem screen recording with software. The software will crash, the file will go corrupt. You've just taught a 2-hour lesson, you've lost everything.
Apple's operating system for the graphics card doesn't always give you all of the export options that PC wants. So if you want to change something to 24 hertz so that you can get 24 frames per second.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Maybe it's not even an option.
Right. So what we've purchased is this Atomos recorder that most people use for a camera. So we use that into computers, and it gives us a
Second
external hardware recording option.
Yep.
So we can still record with software if we want, but when that fails 50% of the time,
it's a redundant
we have
process.
this other thing that's recording separately. And we will use these dongles into the MacBook Pros to try to get a signal out to this little Atomos thing, and I swear it works 20% of the time. And I thought that we had figured out a system. It was like we had the exact right dongles to make it work. And here's the other thing. In the 13, I'm getting upset. In the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the jacks on either side of the MacBook are not the same speed. So it was like working out of the left side, but not the right side, or something like that was going on.
I remember us taking this setup to the Apple Store, and weren't they saying that it looks like the jack is underpowered for the device? Which is not supposed to happen with that jack, but it's like when you had two plugged into the same side, it was like splitting the power.
Something like that, yeah. And the Apple guys were like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know. Like, it doesn't. You probably have to get the 15-inch."
They are trying to push this technology and make it the standard, and we're just at one of those periods of time where, yes, the dongles don't quite work right, and you have this and that not working right. But in the next couple years, everything will be one standard. The problem with that argument is we've been making this argument for decades. And as soon as everyone gets on board with the Thunderbolt, there will be a new technology that can do 8K televisions, and we will have to change all of the technology for the next adapter. So it just, to me, it always feels like we're chasing after something that you'll never catch.
I'm all about it. I love that Apple is like pushing us into the future, okay? I get it. But if they say Thunderbolt 3 or USB-C is the future, then put it on all of your products. Why is it not on the bottom of our phones yet? Why is it on some iPads and not others? Why do some Apple products have headphone jacks, like the MacBooks, and other products like the phones and the iPads, like the expensive iPad doesn't have a headphone jack, but the cheap iPad does have a headphone jack? Like, what is going on? Why are you going to buy a phone and it's going to come with earbuds that have a jack that plugs into the phone but doesn't plug into any other port on an Apple product that you have? If Apple wants to go this Thunderbolt route, cool, I'm all about it. Then Apple, you need to make all the cables. You need to make all the accessories. You need all the stuff people use, the card readers, all that stuff. Why don't you guys make it and put a crazy Apple price tag on it? Sell it for $75, but at least we'll know it works. I don't understand how these professionals are happy using a product that when they show up to a photo shoot or something, there's like a 60% chance it's not going to work. And when people say things like, Apple removed the headphone jack in the phone so that you have to buy AirPods or you have to buy their Beats Bluetooth headphones or whatever, I'm like, okay, like I kind of understand that a little bit. It's annoying, I hate it, but okay, because I think the AirPods are their most successful product of all time. I've heard statistics like that. Okay, great, it worked. But how are you making money, Apple, when you make a product that nothing can plug into it and the things that you do plug into it may or may not work? We just got a message, David back in Charleston. He's with a photographer. He said for 5 hours yesterday, they tried to figure out screen recording. The dongles didn't work. They couldn't get it to export. The OBS software that like it's our backup plan, the website was down, so they couldn't download it.
Which is just a ironic situation.
Exactly. So they started screen recording with QuickTime. QuickTime crashed in the middle of recording.
Because it's an MOV file, you lose the whole file when it corrupts.
They recorded for an hour and a half, lost everything.
Yeah.
Started over. By the time they started over again, it had been 5 hours had passed. And if it had just had an HDMI cable, it would have just worked.
But on a more positive note, it seems like the online community is saying, hallelujah, Apple has finally listened to pros.
Yeah.
Maybe not on the import, in the inputs, but they've listened to some of the updated features. They've changed the way the bar works. They've added the escape key. They've fixed the keyboard. They're trying to do things now that appeal more to pros, but from our point of view, you don't have a card reader, and you don't have some of these other things like, we like Ethernet because we connect to servers many times. We like HDMI because we're giving lectures and we're having to speak in front of people and we want to plug that in. The anxiety of going to a big workshop or a convention for the person hosting it and thinking, man, there's a good chance that the presenters...
It just happened. Remember when we were in, I think we were in Chile, and I think it was Alaya or somebody had the new MacBook, and they're trying to get it's like a huge arena of people coming to watch, and they're like, okay, we got to get the computer hooked up to the Pro projector, and the tech, it's like his only job is to get to work. He's like, I can't make it work.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make this work. So who the hell knows what's that?
HDMI would have saved the day.
Exactly. But going back to your point about, I've seen multiple videos and multiple posts about like, finally Apple is listening to us. Literally the only thing they did to this computer that I feel like listening was involved was adding the escape key back. Everything else, they just fixed a broken computer. It's like, they listened to us and they fixed the keyboard. No, the keyboard was like, malfunctioning before. It was literally breaking and they were having to replace entire computers.
The computer was overheating. Well,
they listened to us. It doesn't blow up now. Yeah, it's not supposed to do that.
It's like when the Sony AR7 first came out, and if you filmed in 4K for more than like 5 or 10 minutes, it would overheat.
Yeah.
They weren't saying like, man, they finally listened to us.
No, they just made it work correctly.
Right.
So that doesn't count. And then when other people are like, oh, they listened to us and now we can get more RAM and more storage and stuff.
That should have been an option always.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't understand why Apple wouldn't like allow the most large capacity hardware possible and just put insane prices on it. It seems
Yeah.
like that's what they've done. $2,400 for the 8 terabyte drive. Sure, if somebody's crazy enough to buy that, Apple should be like, hell yeah, go ahead and buy that. They're probably making $1,000 profit on that. You know what I mean? So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to let us know how wrong we are in the comments below, and go out and spend $4,000 on the new dongle book. I'm sure you'll love it, and we're not.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I don't even know how to plug like a hard drive in and get it to work. Because Apple uses that proprietary partition system, and you're like, oh, it kind of works one way but not another. And I just go back to using SD cards, but I can't on the MacBook because it doesn't have a card reader.